It's John D. from OnMerge. I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Word's Include Picture field code to mail merge pictures. Like this. Include Picture is tricky to use and you have to get everything exactly right. So the method I use focuses on being foolproof-ish. There are a few gotchas I need to warn you about. I'll show you how to deal with them after I get the basic merge working. If you stick around till the end, I'll show you a power tool that automates the entire process and makes it super easy. So first, you need a mail merge data source, usually a spreadsheet, but it can be any other data source that Word supports. You also need a folder full of pictures that you'll merge into the document. Those pictures need to have file names that tie back to the spreadsheet. That's because the picture merge works by file name. In this example, the pictures are named with each person's first name and last name separated by a space. That's just an example. Use any naming scheme that works for you as long as it's consistent. Or you can just keep the existing file names and add an extra column to your data with the original names of the photos. I've already prepared a bare bones Word mail merge master document with a little bit of text merged in. But before going further, it's super important to save as this document in the old school Word .doc format. The regular docx format has a bug that randomly turns include picture fields into regular static photos without warning. At this point, you'll also need to make sure your data source is loaded, like for a regular mail merge. I'll insert a photo above the person's name where the cursor is. Click on Pictures in the Insert tab. Navigate to the folder where the photos are and select any photo in the collection. Doesn't matter which. Now, here's the trick. Don't just insert the photo as usual. Click on the little arrow next to the Insert button and click on Link to File from the drop-down menu. Here you can resize the photo to a good size by dragging a corner. This may look like a regular photo, but it has superpowers. Hit the F9 key while holding the Alt key. You'll see it's actually an Include Picture field. That's all good, but this Include Picture field will always merge the exact same photo, so it's no use for mail merging. I'll fix that by exchanging the first and last names with mail merge variable fields that fetch each person's name. By the way, you can't type in those curly braces you see. They're special. You have to use the Insert Merge Field button on the Mailings tab, like I'm showing. I'm replacing each part of the name with variable fields. It's very important to not delete or add any spaces around the names. You might see a %20 in the field. That's Word's way of inserting a blank. Replace each %20 with the space. That's it for the basic Include Picture mail merge setup. So let's check our work. Hit Alt F9 again to get back to the photo. Word doesn't automatically refresh the images when the field coding changes. You have to do it manually. Press the A key while holding down Control, not Alt, then press the F9 key by itself. Okay, no picture. No problem. Looking at the coding, I see that I inserted an extra blank like I told you not to do. I'll fix that and repeat the keystrokes. Here's our picture, so I'm ready to mail merge. When you mail merge pictures, you can't merge to email or directly to the printer. You have to merge to Edit New Document. You'll see why in a bit. Notice the merged pictures are all the same. Again, Word doesn't automatically refresh the images when it does the mail merge. Do the Control-A F9 sequence to see the images. Looks good, but let's take a closer look. The first thing that pops out is that the third picture has an error message. That's a tip-off that Word couldn't find the right photo. Looking at the data, I see that the photo's name is missing a space. So I'll fix that file name. So the first gotcha is that you need to check your merges. Now, what if you just didn't have an image available for some people? You don't want the wrong image. You don't want the word icon. For those cases, you may want to create a default. Image, maybe just a blank rectangle, and name a copy of it with the person's name. We'll have to run the merge again with the file name I just fixed, but before that, some of these photos look weird. They're too narrow or too fat. Look at this guy. Here's another version of the document with correct photos on the right, so you can see the difference clearly. This is one of Word's limitations. It tries to force all the merged images to have the same size as the one on the master merge template. But many of these photos have different proportions between the width and the height. That leads to distorted photos. Looking carefully, you can see the different aspect ratios in the originals. That wouldn't be a problem for you if all your own photos have the exact same proportions, but often you'll have a mixture, especially if you get photos from several people. If this is a one-time deal, it's easiest to fix each photo's proportions after you do the merge. Just wait to do it after all other corrections and edits are done, because the proportions will get reset every time you merge. The more permanent solution is to crop the photos with photo editing software before you merge so that they all have the same proportions. Here's one more gotcha you should know about, though it doesn't show up on the original example. Photos from smartphones often come out in Word rotated sideways. That's because Word chooses to ignore some information in the photo that says which way the camera was held. Word literally doesn't know which way is up. You can't rotate the image on the template because that would automatically convert the include picture to a static picture, not mail mergeable. Your options are the same as for wrong aspect ratios. Edit the photos with photo editing software, or fix up the merge after it's all done. Now I'm going to show you a much easier way to do this project using a software power tool. It's a Word add-in called OnMerge Images, and you can get a free 15-day trial from onmerge.com. Once it's installed, you'll see some new icons on the Mailings tab. I'll redo the include picture example using OnMerge Images. I could do the whole thing in under 45 seconds, but I'll be narrating, so it'll take a little longer. I'm working with the same template, photos, and data source as before. I put the cursor where I want the image, then I click on the OnMerge Images icon on the Mailings tab. First, I select the folder where the photos are located. And then you'll remember that the formula is variable first name space variable last name. So I'm going to fetch the first part of the file name from database and then select first name space, and then again with the last name. Okay, well, we've got our preview, our basic merge will work. However, you'll remember from the previous example that there were a couple of little gotchas. The first gotcha was that sometimes we'd get this little icon when there was a missing image. In this case, what I want to do is to have just a generic person outline appear in the cases where there's no image available. The other thing was that there was a rotation issue. Sometimes the camera's rotation would not be matched. So OnMerge handles that automatically as long as you enable this option here. So now with this enabled, you see it's going to match the camera's rotation. That's it. We're pretty much set up. The only thing we need to do is fix the size. So we just stretch this out. Now you'll remember there was an issue with the photos with different aspect ratios. So what I'm going to do in this one is I'm going to actually make this a pretty square aspect ratio, and that stretches out the photo way too wide, but it leaves room for wider photos. As soon as I click outside, OnMerge automatically fixes the aspect ratio to the correct one. And it will do so in any merged images as well. So we're ready to merge. OnMerge lets you use all of the merge options. So of course we can still do edit individual documents, but we can also directly print to the printer, or we can merge each record to a different email, which is of course something you can't do with IncludePicture at all. Here I'll just do it, edit individual documents, so you can see it on screen. So there's no need for any alt keystrokes or anything. The whole thing is automatic. Here you'll notice that OnMerge substituted in the generic outline because it didn't have the person's photograph. And looking through these other images, you now see that the aspect ratios are correct. The people don't look overly fat or thin. Looking at an OnMerge version of the flower example, you'll see that the flower has automatically been straightened.